50s, 60s, and 70s. And I hear the well-educated people that are visiting saying, oh, it's so derivative of Picasso, it's derivative of Matisse, it's derivative of, and as though somehow it isn't worth looking at too closely or too open. And derivative is good. Critic Jesse Murray once wrote after my second show at Graham Gallery on Madison Avenue that I was a continuation of the line from Blake to Turner to Radon to Rothko to me. I was pissed. I didn't really like Radon, and I certainly didn't like Rothko. I didn't like being told I was in that same line. About 10 years after he had died and life had moved on for me, I was looking back at my paintings and went, damn, he's right. Sometimes others can see us better than we see ourselves. That's a small sometimes, it's just always always. Even total strangers sometimes can see it. When's the last time a painting caught your attention so much that you sat and stared at it for 20, 30, 40 minutes? Not really realizing that's what you're doing. Once in a while music does it, it just gets your attention and you sit and you listen. And it doesn't matter if you're on the subway or in the library or even at your work, your mind is occupied by someone's creative activity. I'm beginning to think that there's a relationship to place and what you do. A friend of mine committed suicide and it really got me sad, and another friend took me off to a party where I met someone doing performance world stuff and found myself around musicians and composers and places like this. No one's painting. There was a paradigm I noticed in that performance world that if you express yourself as an individual, if you are you, everybody wants to be around you and include you and be a part of your life because that's what they're all doing. In a world of people who aren't even really looking for themselves in the first place. It's very rare in this life you find a place where strangers will support you in your endeavor to express yourself. I had a friend, she was the guardian of my dreams. That wasn't so special, she did it for a few thousand people, she was a busy lady. When you got to be her friend, she'd want to know how to spell your name. She'd put in a Rolodex and your phone number and your address and any other phone you might have, and then if you're married, your spouse's name and your children's names and your parents' names and where you went to school, what you studied, what your husband or wife went to school, where they studied, where your kids go to school, where your father worked, your grandfather worked, any awards, and this and all that, and all this information. And when all that was done and spelled and categorized and put in this expanding Rolodex of people, so now, darling, what are your dreams? Now, it didn't matter if you had a real simple little dream that might change humanity forever, or a clear, obvious fall on your face farce. She helped you see it, get it through. And there were some of her friends that said, why do you help him? You know he's full of shit. Yes, darling, they all do. But he doesn't. And the years went by, and one day he finally realized he was full of shit. Didn't change how he made his money, how he promoted himself, how his life went, but at least he finally realized, man, I missed a boat here. It could have been me all that time and done a lot happier. It could have been me all that time and done a lot better. It's okay to be me. The Inuit people of Greenland have a word for me. It's the same word for you. It's the same word for we. It's the same word for us. It's the same word for community. It's the same word for village and stream and river and land and mountain and sky and ocean and the ever-expanding universe, because I am the universe. When they see the world this way, people don't harm each other, because to harm someone is to harm yourself. So if someone goes hungry, you're going hungry. If someone's behind in learning, you're behind in learning. It's a real common sense way to live, I think. Because I am the universe. Lily Tomlin said it really well. She said, don't worry, folks, we're all in this alone. Now, painting is an activity that occupies a lot of alone time. And the end product is static. It just sits there forever. It doesn't matter if people know how to read it or not. If you've actually done your job, people will see something. They'll stop. They'll look. Their mind will wander and wander. It's kind of lucky I was obsolete, actually. I'm free to pursue my dream. A lot of artists, and I had a guest a few months ago. He was a musician, and he's won an Academy Award for his film soundtracks. I didn't know that until after he was staying there, which was made it all the better. And I said, wow, that's great. I'd be nice to have a career as a musician making movie soundtracks. He says, no, it's fine. Gotta be careful what you wish for. Really? I said, yeah, you see, they pay me more and more money each movie to do the same music I did the movie before. It got me in this box. As long as I stay inside that box, I can keep making money. If I can't step outside of it, my career is done. And I saw that in the art world in the 80s. There was painters, you know. Julian Schnabel was lauded as a great painter. He wasn't, but it doesn't matter. He got recognition for making these plate paintings, and they're quite interesting, and some of them actually are quite good. But as soon as he steps outside the box, nobody cares. So I guess it was a blessing. I was obsolete. It was in October 1980, and I'm helping Marcia Tucker, who is the founder of the New Museum. She's curating a show of small works, and I'm taking all the ones she's rejected back to the room for the artists to come and collect in a few days. And I couldn't get it, why some were being selected and others weren't. I said, Marcia, what's this? Why are these being thrown out? And she said, well, you should know that being able to draw and paint automatically disqualifies you from being a contemporary artist. Have you been to the New Museum? There's a Matisse exhibit at the Met, and it's about learning, and it's got progression of image. It's got Matisse's own library of how these things came to be. It's definitely for the student of the visual arts. There's just nobody talking around the floor. They're not explaining it. They're not talking about it. It's just there. For so many people it seems hidden, but when you stop and actually take a moment and look, it's like, I see that. Once at MoMA, we were climbing up the stairs, and there was a sculpture that went between the big open space. And the woman and her little boy came and said, look, Mom, a dinosaur. And she said, no, darling, it's a sculpture. Well, it's a sculpture of a dinosaur. I think the view of the little child is a pretty good one. There was this really warm green water I remember being immersed in. And there was this sort of soft yellow light, and I was going towards it, but the water was warm, and I went towards the light, and I remember this speedboat spinning around in a circle, and all these women of brown color were washing me, and I was looking at them, and they were washing me and adoring me. When I was 2 and 3, I would say, where are the brown ladies that watched me? It wasn't until years later that I realized I was having a memory of being born. And I thought, man, you've really lost it. Started digging into it. Found out everybody remembers being born. It's just a matter of, do you remember it? It's down in your unconscious. Everything you've seen, smelled, heard, felt, touched, thought, forgot is inside you. Now, painting, like all art, is expression of self. That's you out there. This is me coming out of this instrument. Even if you're doing a cover song, it's still you. It was about 7 years of my mother living with me, coming back from her brain damage, and it was getting to be pretty tense because we thought, yeah, she's plateaued, this is going to be life forever, and this is pretty scary. Her neuropsychiatrist, his name was Dr. Rose Lynn Scher. It was like Cruella de Vil, a 6-foot-tall Jewish woman with a white streak like this, and always a fur coat and high heels. And she said, I want to go over and see your painting show there on Madison Avenue. She called me up and she goes, I want to meet you at the painting show over on Madison Avenue. Okay, doctor. She's walking along, she's got her arm around my shoulder, and she says, do you know what the subject of this artwork is? I said, yeah, that's me out there. Damn, you do know what you're doing, she said. When I was 4, I ate a lot of Tony the Tiger cereal, that Frosted Flakes. And they had on the back of the cereal box a Tony the Tiger spoon. If you saved up 10 cents and got 4 proof of purchase seals, they'd send you one of those Tony the Tiger spoons so you could eat your Frosted Flakes. So I got all the cereal boxes out of the cupboard and had them on the table, and I was figuring out that, why can't I use the Alphabet Post cereal proof of purchase for my Kellogg's Frosted Flakes? I'll have my spoon. And I remember staring at the back of that Alphabets box, and there was a thing about a wedding cake, and there was a cartoon of a bride and a groom and a wedding cake, and I'm staring at it. My mom says, what are you looking at? I said, what is that? That's the wedding cake. What's that on top? She goes, that's ornament. That's the bride and the groom, the 2 people that are getting married. Oh, where's the one with the 2 boys on it? She said, what? I said, where's the one with the 2 boys on it? She goes, so the 2 boys can't get married. Really? Well, they will when I grow up. She said, what, you don't want the spoon? Yeah, I want the spoon, Mom. I remember waiting for days by that post office for that mailman to come. Doesn't come, you go and play. It's not like email every few minutes. I get my mail. Still got that spoon somewhere. Now that was in October of 1959. Now I'm all grown up and boys can get married. I think I see a gay couple in here, which I think is so cool. It's a different world than the one people want it to be. It's just the one that it is. New York is really cool because you never know who anybody's going to be. The Oscars are on, and that's the place of everybody knows who everybody else is, whether they actually know you or not. Several years ago, I financed a film for a friend, and she got it in the comedy festival at Aspen, and it turns out it was the only black film in the festival, and I was the executive producer. And I went out there, and it was all these Hollywood people, and HBO people, and Comedy Central people, and it was an awful experience. First, I hadn't been to Aspen in a long time, 20 years. It was 2004, I was at the film festival. Last time I was there was 84 when my mother got hurt. But with that said, I didn't know very many people, and I went to this executive producers meeting over one of the hotels, and I stepped in and I looked around, and there's a couple hundred people, and I don't know a soul. But way on the far end is Gary Marshall, who I'd met a long time ago, and we had a couple of nights of just having a good laugh about life. Rick Patrick, is that you? Hey, Gary, how are you? And at the parting of the Red Sea, everybody's like, I know Rick Patrick. I've worked with him. Oh, yeah, I know him. I know him. It was like, I don't know any of these people. Bullshit, man. But it was nice to have been remembered by Gary Marshall. And the people, after about a day and a half, realized I wasn't anybody that was going to get them anywhere, so nobody wanted to talk to me. And I ended up with the other black guy that was sort of neglected, left at the side, and that was Patrice O'Neill. So Patrice and I palled around for the next 5 days, and kind of worked in his favor because I was one of the last people there, and I got the last of the last of the last rent-a-cars. And it was the biggest four-wheel drive SUV possible in the humanity. And it was solid white, in the snow, in Aspen. I said, Patrice, seriously, I can take him to rent-a-car. Big man. Seriously, I can take him to rent-a-car. I said, okay. I believe it. And they pulled that thing up in the valet parking.